Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Dreamforce Debrief webinar. I'm so excited to be here and to share this stage with some of my amazing colleagues today. We can't wait to bring you our take on the Dreamforce excitement. We love doing these types of webinars. It is one of our most favorites every year. And today, our goal is pretty simple. We are going to help you make sense of everything, pretty cut and clear. And really, Dreamforce was huge. There were over 30 keynotes, I think I heard, across so many different industries and teams. And we're going to help break it all down for you. Most importantly, we're going to share our thoughts, our expert insights. You'll meet some of the speakers very soon. They're on stage with us now. But these are folks that are working hands on with our customers, playing in demo org, staying up to date on all the product releases, and even working hand on hand with Salesforce on given product feedback and strategy. But most importantly, we really want to make sure you're leaving with how to figure out what matters and how to actually apply it to your org and really what deserves your attention going into 2026 and making sure you're spending the next 30, 60, 90 days prepping up for that 2026. So by the end, we're hoping that you're walking away with how it all matters, how it fits, and where to focus. So to get us started, we are going to the plan for today. We're going to start with the main course, right? The meat. We're going to head right into the product updates. We've grouped these into three themes that just kept popping up over and over throughout Dreamforce. Our speakers will then share their own takes, including what they're hearing in the boardrooms or whispers in the hallways, if you will. Then we'll talk through some of the focus areas specifically for sales, marketing, and service teams to help prioritize your roadmap. And then we will wrap up with some light discussion and live Q&A. So we've got chat open, we've got Q&A. We are going to be prioritizing that Q&A tab. So make sure you do drop all your questions in there. It's obviously easier and more organized for us. And don't hold back. We've got the A team here with us today. So we'll tackle any type of question from tech to strategy. So with that being said, here is that A team I've been talking about. While I kept up on the Salesforce Plus side of things from afar, Lauren, Heather, and Erin here did attend in person rather, and we'll be hearing their takeaways on what their boots on the ground experience was and maybe sessions they attended, different conversations, some partner events that they attended. So I'm really excited to hear from everybody here. All right, let's jump into what we like to call the big three. I'm a big fan if you've watched that show with, I can't think of it.
This Is Us.
This Is Us. Thank you, Lauren. Big fan of that show. And I immediately just was like, okay, well, this is the big three. So these are what we just kept hearing at Dreamforce. And they're really nudging businesses, I think, to just imagine how they would craft their businesses today, just rethinking how every single team is working. And this is where the real innovation is happening. We obviously know about Agentforce, we know about the agentic enterprise, and it's really all about AI and automation doing that heavy lifting, but that heavy lifting now across every single team in your entire organization. And then we have data teams and alignment, or really data and teams aligned for customers. So really putting the emphasis on when your data and teams feel good, your customers are getting the good effects from that, and they're really feeling it. So teams are feeling better internally, and your customers are feeling it externally. And then lastly there, and this is my personal favorite, the flow of work, that tools just need to fit the way we are working today. The way marketers, specifically for me, because I'm one of the demand gen marketers here at Sercante, but the way we're all being asked to work today. The last thing that I want is not to be forced into something, but I want something to be forced into how I'm working. And I'm finally feeling like we're seeing that. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But other than that, I would like to hand things off to Lauren to get us started with something that's very near and dear to our heart.
I know this one is just really near and dear to me and many of us on this call. So we wanted to just hold space, laugh, have a moment with the name changes, if that is kind of how you're feeling at the moment. I've been working with Salesforce for a decade. Erin and Heather have been working with Salesforce for a decade, if not longer, as well. We've all weathered many a name change in that era. But this one was bigger than any Dreamforce before. So if you're a Friends fan, this is the one where everything and everyone became Agent Force at Dreamforce. So everyone, all the names, as we all know, became a little bit embedded with Agent Force. So we can make the jokes, we can hold the space for it, but joking aside, it did very much solidify the vision around AI and just improving the customer experience, improving productivity, and optimizing internal teams and workforces. And so you really saw Salesforce lean in with all of those name changes, which we will unpack in each section. But for those that didn't follow along live last week or 2 weeks ago at this point, as you know, most of the products have now been either formally or informally, we're still a little bit unclear, referred to as like product name, like Agent Force product name. So Agent Force marketing, Agent Force sales, Agent Force service, still to be determined on whether that sticks permanently. But if you saw any of that in the messaging, that is why.
All right. Well, I'll kick us off on the marketing view of things. So on the name theme, the big announcement was Marketing Cloud Next, which is the next generation of marketing on the Salesforce platform, has been renamed Agent Force Marketing. Now, there was some buzz that Marketing Cloud is also going to become Agent Force Marketing, but I still see Marketing Cloud on the Salesforce website, so I'm a little unclear there. But the summary is just Agent Force Marketing is the new top level name for marketing on the Salesforce platform. So with this announcement, there was a couple other key objectives that were announced in the keynote. Salesforce is continuing moving towards two-way communications with your recipients. So they call this the end of do not reply marketing. So they want to have email and SMS channels that your recipients can reply to, and that becomes a conversation between you and your audience member rather than you just sending your audience communications that they may ignore or may not have any way to engage in. The other highlights is Agent Force is going to continue doing some of the heavy lifting for marketers. So analyzing how campaigns are performing to provide insights in next best action recommendations, as well as automating or generating some of the kind of repetitive parts of building a campaign. So the goal is to make marketers' lives easier, take the repetitive pieces out of their hands so marketers can really focus on, the personalization and the journey that the audience is going through and making sure that is the best fit for their audience. And just overall have a better experience for both the marketer and the audience members. And then the third big point is, smarter segmentation with Data Cloud. So this is something Salesforce has been working towards with the launch of Data Cloud for a while, but uniting all of those data sources. So you get that full 360 picture of your audience, and you can segment based off of the fields, the attributes, what they're engaging in, what they're interested in a lot better. The other slide that caught a lot of marketers' attention is that existing account engagement and engagement customers get access to Agent Force Marketing with their current contract. So if you're an account engagement user, this came out actually last Dreamforce, but engagement is just getting it this Dreamforce. But what this means is with your current contract, you can get access to Marketing Cloud Growth and Advanced. So there's three big points Salesforce is talking about when they talk about this, using these platforms side by side. No cost to access. That essentially just means with either permission set licenses or entitlements, depending on what platform you're on, you can spin up Marketing Cloud Growth and Advanced today. You don't have to get a new SKU. You don't have to get something provisioned. You can just spin it up with those permission set licenses or entitlements. No migration means basically just because you have access to this new platform doesn't mean you need to take anything out of account engagement or engagement and move it to growth and advanced. What Salesforce is recommending is you keep everything going in your current account engagement or engagement org, and then just start exploring the possibilities of growth and advanced, or maybe building new stuff in growth and advanced. If you're an account engagement user, you may want to explore growth and advanced because it has built-in SMS channels, or it has WhatsApp. So that's something where you want to do SMS in the new tool, but keep everything going in account engagement. And then the last point, no one left behind. I mean, everyone with a current contract is getting access to this tool, and Salesforce is really doing everything they can to make this accessible to current marketers, so everyone can try out the new platform and see how it can help grow their marketing. So since Salesforce is really pushing on the use growth and advanced side by side with your current platform, I wanted to just give you some ideas of how customers are currently unlocking value to maybe spur some ideas of how to get started. The big one is uniting data sources. So you can pull all of your data into Data Cloud and harmonize it into the unified individual. And then you can build segments with or without the help of AI in Data Cloud and send those segments to account engagement and engagement. That's just going to give you a better view of your audience members and allow you to more accurately segment on the best data that you have for them. You can also utilize multi-channel campaigns. So like I said, account engagement, you may want to use the SMS or the WhatsApp features of Growth and Advanced while continuing to use account engagement for email. If you are an engagement user, you can utilize journey decisioning agents within Marketing Cloud Growth and Advanced to trigger your journeys that already exist in engagement, but you can pull in some AI features there. And then my last use case, it's a little bit more focused on account engagement, but I threw it in here. So, if you're an account engagement user, you're used to account engagement being really good on that top of funnel, inbound leads. And so you may want to keep everything in account engagement running for top of funnel stuff, but explore growth in advanced for nurturing customers and maybe doing upselling, cross-selling, or renewals, and just making your current customers become champions of either your product or your company.
All right, now we've got a poll. And this one's always fun because this allows me to complain, right? About, as a customer myself, what I'm receiving, what type of, and I'm really impressed with you all because you're already in there taking the polls, but I want you to think of you as a customer. What type of marketing experiences really frustrate you the most? It doesn't surprise me that most of us are saying being bombarded with irrelevant emails or ads, right? And the next one up here is offers or campaigns that just don't match my previous interactions. We all have special things that either tick us off or don't. To me, like an offer that's not really relevant to me isn't going to bother me. But if I'm receiving, 4 emails and then a follow-up SMS, I can't do anything faster than spam you. I'm going to mark you as spam. Never mind unsubscribe, but spam. So if you haven't voted yet, wow, yeah, I mean, it's heavy and the irrelevant emails or ads. Erin, I'll hand things back over to you. Is there anything that you feel is coming up? I know you're about to talk through some updates here, but there's anything that you feel is relevant to what we're hearing, for what everybody's frustrations are?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the AI features that are coming out with Growth and Advanced are tuned to make the journeys more personalized to the recipient. So making sure it's tying to what they've purchased before, what they've engaged with before, what they have told us they're interested in. So those marketing messages are relevant. It also has a lot of AI features to basically send the right amount of messages for each individual recipient. So, I may max out at 3 emails a week where you max out at 1. So it's going to tailor the journeys and the communications with each recipient to make sure you're fitting their needs. And, if you email people too much, you're going to have them unsubscribe and then they won't hear from you anymore. So we definitely want to avoid that. But let's get into some of the roadmap items that were shared throughout the keynote. Of course, we're talking about roadmap items, safe harbor. Don't make any purchasing decisions off of this. This is not actually official Salesforce imagery on this slide. I know that comes as a shock, but it is my favorite safe harbor imagery. But some of the new things that just came out as the winter release in mid-October is that two-way messaging for mobile. So, the end of do not reply messaging with your audience. Now people can reply to your SMS messages and you can continue that conversation. Also, the journey decisioning for Marketing Cloud engagement. So that's where Agentforce is going to help determine what the next best path is for your recipient, and it can trigger those journeys. So again, making sure your audience is not going down a path that is not relevant to them, where they're just gonna, stop engaging with those messages. We've got some exciting roadmap items coming up in February. So business units, I'm a big fan of business units and account engagement, so I'm very excited to see them come to Growth and Advanced. We're also going to have the two-way messaging with email. SMS was October, so email is February. And then multi-touch attribution, so we can see how our campaigns are influencing our opportunities in our pipeline. A couple other coming soon items. So for my account engagement users who really love litmus render tests, we are going to get similar functionality in Growth and Advanced, but it is going to be with email on Acid. For my engagement users, scripting, it's going to be similar to AMP scripting, but not exactly, from what I'm told, is also coming soon. And then there's going to be more paid media features, especially tailoring the ads your audience member sees based on, their attributes, their engagement in the past. And then adaptive websites and clean rooms. So all really exciting features that are coming to Growth and Advance.
Very exciting. We have Advance internally. I personally have been working with Erin to set up a lot of the stuff that we've been doing at Advance. Our approach today has been exactly how one of you mentioned earlier, was just diving into and exploring the new things that we can use. We haven't migrated anything over yet. We previously were not doing SMS, so we just decided to explore and test, and that's how we started off in Advance. I'm going to launch another poll. Still, you thinking about you being your customer, or just you as a customer, could be something that maybe a vendor you were exploring for your team. Maybe it's something in your personal life. You got hooked on an Instagram ad and you needed something. But think about when you wanted to purchase something. And again, the key is you wanted to purchase. You're already raising your hand, but you got stalled. What exactly slowed you down? And if you're looking for that poll tab, it's going to be on the right-hand side. I'll show the results now, but it's more of an even split here. So missing or confusing product service info, not knowing if it fits my needs, complex setup or contract processes, and then slow responses for sales or support. I'm really happy to see that that's not one of the biggest ones. I've recently experienced that. And it shouldn't be happening today, right? There's no reason for it. Or tech is teching, as we like to say. It shouldn't be happening. Very interesting. Heather, I'll hand things over to you because, again, I know you're about to bring up some Agentforce for Sales items that could help out on probably a lot of these pain points people are feeling.
Yeah, there's a lot of the features that were talked about at Dreamforce. We're talking about, and we're talking about Agentforce for Sales as having a Agentforce for Sales and thinking of AI built in in Sales Cloud. And there's a lot of features that were talked about that were focused on both the personalization piece for the customer, as well as being able to give sellers the opportunity to do more selling. So there's a stat that has floated around for a bit about how in a seller's day in the life, they're really only spending 30% of their time actually selling, because there's so many other things that go into that process, a lot of manual effort. So a lot of the features that were talked about during Dreamforce are addressing some of that. So the first actually is more, there's several features that are available today. Some have been available for a little bit, and some actually became available just around this month. So lead nurturing is something that you may have heard of, referred to as SDR agent. That's how it was referred to prior to maybe a couple of weeks ago. But we're seeing now that there was sort of rebranding. So on the theme of rebranding, that it's focused a lot more on the lead nurturing, which is the outbound agent that will help to generate emails and have those initial qualification conversations with prospects, helping to answer those questions that prospects might not have, about products or services or company information, in order to be able to address, to better zero in on that concern that had been mentioned in the poll about confusing product or service information. So in addition, there's also the inbound lead generation agent for the web. So think of like the replacing the chat bot on your website. It's an agent that actually can interact with your visitors to your site, potentially answering those same like product or service questions, wanting to understand a little bit more, and then actually be able to capture that lead and then route it to your sales team in order to address in a timely manner. A new feature that was announced was Sales Workspace. So this is thinking of like a sales hub that has things like analytics to show performance and to show like some next actions that the seller should be taking based on prioritization. And then also looking at where there are agents enabled, what has the agent been doing, what have they been what are all the emails that have been sent, and what are all the nurturing pieces that they've been doing. So there's a lot of pieces now that are available that are actually intended to make some of that lead intake and lead handover and qualification a lot easier. Some other features that have been announced to be coming over the next couple months and then into spring. So account research and briefs, if you're not already using, you should have access to a feature called account plans. Those have been available for a little while, but now they're actually making those, adding the AI layer in order to be able to actually generate some of those account plans, the SWOT analysis, some of the opportunities, and to be able to update that in real time, and then have sellers be able to actually query them and understand a little bit more about what's going on with that account based on the CRM data and other pieces that are coming in. And speaking of data coming in to populate, one of the cool features that was announced coming closer to February, again, safe harbor. Think of that graphic that Erin had on her slide. We had is prospecting. So actually being able to use CRM data, other data points like engagement data, potentially being able to point to other data sources in order to actually update in real time some of the leads that are already sitting in your system, and being able to actually call out and alert, hey, like this prospect looks like this might warrant a call for them, because this could be somebody interested in having a conversation now based on that information, or based on that activity. And then a big piece, you're going to see this in the next couple slides, is Agentforce Voice. So there is a piece that I'll mention and coming up that is available sooner, but there is going to be an Agentforce Voice for Sales component that has been discussed becoming available around February as well. Being able to have that voice-enabled AI to be able to handle incoming and potentially outgoing voice calls. So we're still learning a little bit more about that one because it's still coming down the road, but it does look like it might be an interesting feature. Alrighty, so I'm going to touch also on service, because part of a customer's life cycle is not just on the purchase process, but what happens after that purchase is just making sure that it's providing the value that's needed. And if you have concerns or issues, being able to get the answers and the support you need at the right time. And so some of the features that were mentioned for at Dreamforce for Agentforce for Service, or the AI elements of Sales Service Cloud, were command centers. So think of things like, from a service leadership perspective, being able to have a clear overview of what's going on in their service teams, whether that's human agents or service agents, being able to actually understand what conversations are being had, and having agents actually flag when there might be issues that need to be addressed. Service voice, another voice related feature that is becoming available. This is supposed to be available, I want to say, what we were hearing was around Dreamforce/October. So we'll see if it's going to be available by the end of this month. But this is for inbound voice calls, so phone calls over voice channel. There will be more features down the road that will open up that voice capability, both outbound as well as being able to actually even provide it on other digital channels as well. A big one that I think has been overlooked, in my opinion, is Service Rep Assistant, which would be basically, think about where you have your teams that are you have your calls coming in, whether they're complex issues, and your service teams are actually looking at, okay, how do I help address this in the most timely manner, and getting it resolved for my customer, is having an agent actually give you a step-by-step plan based on your SOPs, and in that checkbox of things that need to get done in order to help resolve an issue. There was also some talk about Agentforce for IT service. So think of your own internal IT departments and how they address the issues that might happen internally, or even whether that's critical incidents, whether that's like specific, that my tech isn't working, I need my password reset internally, anything in that whole gambit that your IT teams face, is actually having Agentforce in a package that's actually going to help with those processes and workflows. And then there's several coming in spring, several features available that help just layer on more and more insights from a customer 360 perspective, whether it's looking at signals on customer behavior and checking intent during conversations, being able to have more insights on that view across systems, and then having more and more capabilities actually built into Slack. So going back to one of the big three, that in the flow of work, being, if you have teams that are actually in Slack, being able to perform more service related activities, and agents that are actually working within Slack. This one is probably like the big layer of Agentforce, and this is what is now being referred to as the Agentforce 360 platform. So think of like when you need to do any kind of layer of Agentforce customization or building custom agents, this is where you would do it. And they really focused on a lot of new features coming out that are going to help make that much easier. So if you're familiar, if you've looked at Agentforce at all, you're familiar with the builder. There will be enhancements to the builder that are going to actually make this a lot more intuitive for making creating and building your instructions, adding in your resources, and actually having an AI agent help you build the agent. So actually looking at ways to make it more reliable and more consistent as you're building it. They've also added agent script, which is basically, you'll have in your agent builder, you have two views. You have your UI or your canvas, And then you also you can convert to a switch block on and off to a script, which is actually going to show you a code-based view of your topics and your actions and your variables, all the details. So it makes it easier to do, have more control over the building that you're doing if that's something that's needed. Agentforce Voice. I mentioned there was a theme here. So this was big. This was talked about almost everywhere. Is the ability for having voice capabilities. And we've talking to customers. This has been something that's been asked for a lot. So inbound AI on voice channels in Canada and the US is available. Will be available first, and they have a roadmap of both availability for other regions as well as outbound as well. And then also on digital channels. So I think over the next few months, we're going to see more and more capabilities available there. Another feature that was discussed is when we're talking about ingesting our data. Think of things like PDFs, your user manuals, or your any kind of product documentation. Up until recently, you would have your sort of text-based PDFs that you would upload, and that would be accessible and used by agents in order to be able to generate responses. Now there's an additional layer on here, which has been referred to as sort of intelligent context, and basically that's being able to actually chunk images and in an intelligent way in order to be able to actually surface those in communications with customers. So one feature that was mentioned I think it was in the Agentforce keynote, was with Williams and Sonoma. They were talking about, and I have a small little graphic there's on the slide here, where you actually have a customer on the and they're interacting with the agent on the website, having an issue, and the agent, not, instead of having a whole text-based instruction on what the things that they should be doing, actually shows them a picture, which can solve that issue. And so it's so much easier than it could be having to read text. Another cool feature is Agentforce for Grid, or Agentforce Grid, I should say. So think about, if you have a set of agents and AI features that are going to be available, but you want your users to interact with them, or you want to be able to evaluate potential AI for a whole batch of data, and you can do this with Grid. It's like a spreadsheet style interface that allows you to actually pull records and to be able to add columns with specific actions, whether that be record updates, formulas, calling AI, calling prompt templates or agents to act on them. And you can actually see line by line what the results are going to be. So this is something that can be made available to customer or to users. It's not necessarily an admin function. So if you have power users that want this capability, this could be a really cool feature to help them be more productive. The last thing on this slide I'm going to mention is just you're probably familiar, if you're familiar with Agentforce, you're familiar with the whole consumption model and flex credits. Prior to Agentforce, there were also Einstein requests, and those are for things like your lead scoring or opportunity scoring, or other Einstein features that have been around for some time. The flex credits are now going to replace those Einstein requests, so that you're actually monitoring your consumption in one place instead of in a bunch of different places.
Before we move on, Heather, I'm so excited about certain things like the Agentforce Grid, or just in
Mhm.
general, this Agentforce 360 platform. I am a marketer, right? We're not using Agentforce specifically today, right? Is that accurate, Erin? You're the one that's like, okay. Um, do you feel like the Agentforce 360 platform, the grid updates, like even the flex credits, like not being so nervous to do certain requests, like do you think that this is enabling marketers to jump into the platform and play with the platform and build their own solutions for, whatever it is, segmentation, certain actions? Like we're all really good in spreadsheets as marketers. So do you feel like all these things is going to make it easier for marketers to just take that next step into AI?
I think so. I think that there's a lot of work that's been done over the last little while. I mean, there's features that come out monthly, and both on like from an end user perspective in terms of like built-in topics and actions that are going to help with use case X, Y, or Z. But also having the ability and making it more intuitive for people to build their own custom agents if there's something out of the box, or what's referred to as like ready to use. If that doesn't suit, then there's the capabilities to be able to build. It's like a lower barrier to entry in order to actually get started on something.
Yeah, that I'm excited about. Yeah.
Mhm. Actually, and on the grid piece, I think it's really interesting to see where that's going to go. I've actually had recent conversations with people about, we have this agent that does X, but we want the users to interact with it in batch, and I think this is going to be perfect for that. And so I can see the capabilities for this and the use cases growing for that.
Totally. Absolutely.
Last thing I have is to a shout out to admins and devs. If there's anyone that's on the webinar for this, is just shining a light on some things that are that are new, and some things that are enhanced, I guess, since Dreamforce. And one big thing is Salesforce Go. So if you're familiar with setup, you go into setup and you see this long list of things on the left hand side that you have to try to figure out where you have to configure things in one place and in another. And that happens with a lot of different features. Now Salesforce Go is intended to be able to sort of group things together in sets of features that to show you what's enabled, if you're X% of the way having a feature enabled, and what you still have to do, and it points you in the right directions on where to go to be able to do some of those features. If it's a new feature, there's actually even information that walks you through, okay, what's this feature about? It sends you to a demo video or a help article or a trailhead. And so it seems like a much more intuitive interface for setup to make it easier for to actually utilize the features that you're paying for. On the Agentforce for setup side, so think of this as an employee agent that you can create and turn on, and it's accessible when you're in the actual setup view, and it can help with things like user management or access management. So helping to create users or clone users, or be able to actually see like why, compare these two users and tell me why so-and-so can't see this particular type of record. So being able to actually help with troubleshooting would be looks a lot easier now with this additional capability. And then Vibes was a big thing that was mentioned even on the main keynote. And this is sort of like the next gen developer tool. If you've used Code Builder or use VS Code, this is sort of the next generation of that. So Code Builder has kind of been renamed Agentforce Vibes, and Agentforce for Developers has now been sort of renamed and enhanced to be Agentforce Vibes. So what this does is it allows you to build actually entire projects, whether that's like an app or whether that's a report or dashboard with natural language prompts. But there's also some source control that's in there as well, being able to actually have some rules in place to be able to add frameworks and pieces so that you're building it in a way that's cohesive with the org today, and having that control. So some really interesting things that I think, even just on the admin side, that I think is going to make life a little bit easier.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I am very excited for Agentforce Voice. Anytime I have to call the contact center, I feel like that psychotic meme of like agent, just like yelling it into the phone, because it doesn't work today, and pushing 0 a million times, they've caught on, and now they just disconnect you and tell you to have a good day. So that one will be really, really exciting. But on the intelligence side, so there were some really interesting announcements around analytics and reporting. So for anyone who's been following along over the releases over the last year, so Tableau Pulse, Tableau Next, Marketing Intelligence, really these layers that have now been built on top of Data Cloud, aka Data 360. You're seeing the vision really start to take shape from an analytics and reporting perspective, where Data 360 is able to harness and integrate all of the different data sources, and you're able to activate it visually in these newer intelligence tools. So the one that they shared that is available now is the paid media optimization capability. So for anyone who is kind of a legacy Datorama or MCI customer, this is definitely of interest. And then unified analytics. So that one is technically GA or will be by the end of the month. And then some exciting ones we've kind of touched upon: clean rooms and multi-touch attribution already. But this is definitely a value add for anyone like building reports, building models, having to build dashboards. So the safe ability with the clean rooms and some easier abilities to build out multi-touch attribution, the model, and ultimately reflect that. I feel like that is something that we as marketers have been talking about forever and comparing notes on. Are you first touch? Are you last touch? Are you a combination of all of the touches? That attribution model has been like revamped 1,000,009 times. So this one, it does make it easier, or will make it easier when it's released in February of next year. So a slide that doesn't say Agentforce on it, I don't think. So Data 360, as we said, formerly known as Data Cloud. So a couple really exciting announcements here. And again, like all of the announcements, you've seen these kind of building towards this vision over the last couple of years. But the unified customer profiles capability. So the ability to better leverage structured and unstructured data, reading the unstructured data, applying it into dynamic audience segmentation is a big feature. And then the ability for those sales and service teams to develop joint marketing initiatives with enhanced campaigns. I don't know if you followed along with the main Data 360 keynote that kind of shared the Meta lead management story, but they really harness the power of Data Cloud to improve their lead management, nurture qualification workflows, and we're able for each one of those interactions to drive improved personalization by utilizing the more enhanced customer profile information that Data 360 was surfacing. And then clean rooms is definitely one that is of interest. I think a lot of customers and partners and end users and all of the above have been talking about for quite some time. So a safer way to build data sets, analyze the data without exposing the raw data to the end users. It's also really interesting to help with segment overlap analysis, which is something I know marketers are always asked about, is like, how many times have we targeted this customer, or what other segments are they a part of, or what other products have they purchased? So an ability to better analyze that data across multiple different interaction points. For anybody who is a Slack user, I actually found some of the Slack announcements to be really interesting. This is where that like third theme of in the flow of work, which we've just jokingly been referred to as like the new buzzword or catchphrase coming out of Dreamforce, because it feels like it was said almost as much as the word Agentforce and the word AI. So it was kind of in those three orders was the top three kind of catchphrases or buzzwords. But for Slack users, we all know that we spend the majority of our day in that tool. And a lot of these announcements just better coupled proactive notifications and just made it easier to work within Slack. So some of the items that you see outlined on this slide from a usability perspective that are interesting. So if you've used Canvas, so the ability to harness the power of Canvas, but also overlay some AI capabilities. So it can help you write and capture notes in Canvas. It can help generate action items coming out of the Canvas, coming out of one-to-one or channel communications. It'll also help contextualize and actually translate the messages. So if you're working with global team members and have different primary languages, that would just makes the collaboration a lot more seamless across those global teams. And then search. I have joked since Slack came out that Slack was kind of the new Outlook. It had just as bad search capabilities as Outlook is known for. So the hope is that this new enterprise search capability will make the search a lot easier than it has been, because there's a lot of really robust data, historical data, communications that we all know that Slack is able to pull from. So being able to surface that when you need it will be pretty key. And then from a marketer perspective, an ability to, again, like in the flow of work, review campaigns, orchestrate next steps, activate those campaigns back to Marketing Cloud without leaving the flow of work in Slack is really interesting from a marketer productivity and optimization perspective. So again, most of these things are coming, not GA available now, but was just really cool to see kind of the vision of Slack start to take shape a little bit more.
I'm so bummed there's not more excitement in the chat about Slack. Like, I am drinking the Kool-Aid on this one. I am so excited. There's one less tab I have to keep open in my browser. This, right? And I'm wondering, I mean, I know Mackie, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, just said, his company or her company uses Microsoft Teams, but have Slack licenses with the Salesforce plan. Very interesting. So I'm wondering if a lot of people are on Teams. Let us know in the chat, but we'll keep it pushing.
And then from a behind the scenes perspective, so like Angelica had mentioned, a lot of us from Sercante, we did get to be in the room in San Francisco, and it was just really cool to see the excitement, the real-time feedback. Erin had a really awesome speaker session. One of our customers was also highlighted, so there was a speaker session with them. And then it was just really great to see a lot of customers and prospects in person. We did a really cool speakeasy event, which I had never been to anything like that. I've been to a speakeasy like one time in my life, and it was not kind of this take a step back in history, really feel what a speakeasy was back in their heyday. So that was just a really cool experience for us to have with some customers and Salesforce partners in the room as well. One of our delivery directors, Nick, he got to actually, if you see that little bicycle contraption, but he handed out a couple hundred ice cream sandwiches to people, which he found to be pretty fun, a little bit of a life moment. He also got kicked out near the campground because I guess we didn't have a permit for it. So we went a little bit rogue, but our team really did have a great experience on site. And then one thing that didn't get a ton of kind of exposure, but was briefly mentioned in one of the keynote sessions is the partnership that Salesforce announced with OpenAI. I think this is definitely something to watch. A lot of us use ChatGPT or Gemini and more of those open generative AI capabilities. And it's really awesome to see an ability to just ask a question and get some answers, or ask for guidance and have it go out and find the answer for you. As we know, Agentforce still only has access to the data that you give it access to. It can only take the actions, using the out-of-the-box capabilities or custom custom like flows and actions that you build in using the agent builder. So the hope is that this is able to open a new door to a new era with Agentforce being a little bit more open, a little bit more proactive in the responses that it's able to return, and definitely something that we at Sercante are keeping our eyes on for the future.
And we have some really great questions. So you guys all will receive these slides. There's some recommended 30, 60, 90 days just to kind of put some things into action of the updates for both sales, marketing, and service, for all sales, marketing, service. So those will be there in the deck. Ultimately, what we've all learned, we've learned a lot of information today. Yes, there's dominance of Agentforce. It's across all of the clouds at this point. It's going to keep coming. It's not going anywhere. And really, those big three, the Agentforce, the data and teams for our customers, we're going to continue to see that theme because it really is what's driving the innovation and growth. It's AI efficiency across every single role, and not only every single role, but also across teams. And I really feel like it's going to allow our teams to work better together, maybe give us a little bit more work-life balance or more water intake than coffee intake, you know. Um, but the unified customer data views, there's a lot of the um, 360 items that we looked at today. They don't happen without the trusted data. And that's not going to change, right? That's where we need to start. Um, and then finally, I feel like we're all actually ready to start turning this AI into something. So with that being said, what we have coming up next on the Sercante side of things is we host this virtual event annually. We are totally changing things up this year. Every Tuesday, Thursday, there's going to be a live session, and then there's going to be a bundle of on-demand sessions. Think of it like Netflix, but how B2B marketers are learning about Salesforce in a whole new way. If you have not registered, scan this QR code, get registered. It is a free event. You can add certain sessions to your calendar, attend them, don't attend, get the recordings. The only thing that won't be recorded are the live sessions. So with that being said, let me go ahead and open up this QA tab here. We've gotten a lot of good questions. So Frankie asked, where does Marketing Cloud Engagement Corporate Edition fall into as far as all the updates?
I can take that one. So Marketing Cloud Engagement was not the first to the Marketing Cloud Advanced train, as you know, and as Erin had outlined, that was Marketing Cloud Account Engagement, or formerly known as Pardot. So if you are an engagement customer, you do have access to Marketing Cloud Advanced. You generally do need to upgrade to or add the Engagement Plus SKU at your renewal time to get full access to Marketing Cloud Advanced. But that does have access today.
Then we have a question from Emily. I believe somebody did share the implementation guide for the new Marketing Cloud platform. It's 53 pages. Where would you point someone to? Where does this person even start? Where can they find like the quick punch list of this is what I've got to get set up?
Yeah, I can't think of any resources that exist out there that's like, here is minimum to play around with it. Maybe we can write a blog post to kind of put this guidance out there. But essentially what I would do is get what I would consider the base Marketing Cloud Growth or Advanced setup, which would include like the data cloud, or not data clouds, data kits. There's some pre-built data kits in there that you want to run, and it does a lot of the mapping of your data. And then turn on the AI features that are outlined in that guide, and that will give you access to the builder and the campaign designer, or I think it's been renamed campaign creation enhancement. So you can start building assets with or without the help of AI and kind of really feeling out how the workflow would be different in those tools. And that will give you kind of a better picture of what you can do before you start verifying your domain or setting up your SMS code or anything like that. But I'll try to put a blog together on like, you want to test it out, here's what you should do.
And I just dropped that link to the spot. It's where our entire team posts all their blogs. Let's see. Frankie, another question. Does the prospecting feature source external leads outside of an existing Salesforce org? Or is it crunching existing org data to better identify leads?
I can answer that. So from what we saw, it looks like it's kind of you're able to do both. So it does take the CRM data, but it also allows you to like connect to third-party tools like Sixth Sense or Demand Based or Zoom Info, so that you're taking, you can enrich your accounts, contacts, or leads based on those signals that are coming from those other platforms. But then you can also look at something like a Zoom Info to maybe instruct the agent, the prospecting agent, to go and find like new contacts that might be within one of your accounts that you haven't spoken with for a while. So I think it's a little bit of both, based on so far. I think we'll see more and more coming out, and more connections available that are going to support this too.
Okay, we have a question here. Asia, how does the new multi-touch attribution compare to the campaign influence that exists today?
Yeah, so Marketing Cloud Growth Advanced has opportunity influence rather than campaign influence. So it's pretty much the same, but it doesn't rely on having a campaign member in your campaign as much. So, right now as marketers, we're used to, we got to put those campaign members in the campaign and we got to make sure their status is responded in order to kind of build the bridge between opportunities and campaigns. So opportunity influence takes that out. It will look at people who engaged with assets that are tied to a campaign and make the connection without needing that campaign member there. You can still use a campaign member, but you just don't have to. Right now, Growth and Advanced has first touch and last touch opportunity influence. So multi-touch is just going to be a new model added to that. And I do have a blog post on opportunity influence. This is written just with first touch and last touch being out, but I will put that in chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. Does that mean that we're still relying on contact roles then?
Yes. Unfortunately, opportunity contact roles is here to stay for the foreseeable future. You can build a flow to automatically associate those to your opportunities. I think we also have a blog post on that. Or if you don't want to build a flow, we do have a tool called Automated Opportunity Contact Roles, or AOCR, that will do it for you.
Okay, and then I think we can wrap things up neatly here. Back to the Teams versus Slack. Do we have any advice, or do we have any experience in transition from Teams to Slack, or living in both ecosystems?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that, to be completely honest. We do see a lot of customers like choose one or the other, rather than allowing both to operate in parallel. I do think that some of the announcements that have come out recently may make more customers think about maybe having both operate together. But I think the value prop of being able to connect your Slack org directly with your Salesforce org and get the proactive alerts and pushes and bi-directional connection between your CRM and where everybody spends most of their days working is a big value in considering the move to Slack.
Couldn't agree more. But I think everybody here knows I'm Team Slack. All right, everybody. Well, that really wraps up our session today and everything that we have for you. You will receive the slide deck and a recording to this once it generates. You'll get it all. And if you have any questions, just connect with any one of our team members on LinkedIn, or shoot us an email at marketing@sorcante.com. There's numerous ways that you can find us, but definitely get signed up from our Dream In. There's going to be tons of great content. This is definitely more technical based on like how to do things. And there's a lot of community members also showing up to have a good time online with us. So sign up and we hope to see you there. Take care, everyone.